Alright, so in this video, I'm going to talk a little bit about something that I think is very important in Eddie's game and has significantly helped me with my game, and that's his aggressiveness with attacking his opponent. Eddie has a very unique game in terms of his hand fighting capabilities and his entries into his leg lock positions. And what I've noticed about most of his matches is he basically keeps his opponent on the defensive or in retreat mode. And most of his opponents never get their game even started. They don't pass his guard typically, and for the whole match, they're always running from Eddie's leg locks. And what I've noticed when after watching a lot of his tapes, I sort of have had that same reaction to the opponents that I'm fighting. That especially guys that I know that have good guard passing games or they have a lot of pressure, etc. When I start to utilize some of these hand fighting techniques that I've been watching Eddie do, I've noticed that a lot of times they're behaving the same exact way, which is to escape. And for me, I've been training now for over 8 years, and I've always started on pulling guard myself, and my guard game is pretty good, but for the most part, it's more of a defensive guard. I typically, will use my hooks, use other ways to prevent my guard from being passed, and I typically wait for my opponent to make a mistake and for me to capitalize on that mistake. Or, on occasion, I'll pull off some sweeps when they're not expecting it, but it has a lot to do with reacting to my opponent's attack. And Eddie seems to have sort of that opposite approach where he's constantly attacking his opponent, which often leads to the opponent not wanting to pass the guard. They're trying to get out of the bad position that he's trying to get them in, and they really don't get anything started. And so in this video, what I've done is I've sort of trimmed a bunch of the videos that I found online with Eddie to sort of highlight some of the key areas that I think are important in Eddie's game in terms of how he approaches some of his entries. So let's go ahead and get started. And I'm not going to do a lot of talking over the matches. I'm just going to sort of highlight what I think is important as we go through, because there are a lot of matches here, and multiple cuts that I've made in each match. And a lot of these sort of the hand fighting game, they may not be successful, right? He may not be able to get into a leg lock entry, but you can see how when he does apply these techniques, the opponent is trying to escape, and it's just allowing him to get closer and closer and closer, and eventually he ends up getting into the position that he wants, even if he's not successful the first time around. So let's take a look at some of these videos. And what I've noticed here, for example, in this video, look how he's got double wrist control. He's using both hands on his opponent's wrists, trying to maintain control and bring his opponent on top of him here. In this match with Enrico, he was aggressive, he shot in early, and he's constantly going for bringing his opponent on top of him. Right, so he's grabbing the back of the elbow, he's grabbing the head, he's grabbing the wrist. Again, watch this here, he's got double wrist control, right? And what I wanted to show here too is notice how he's using his right hand here to grab the back of the neck. This is something that wasn't part of my game. I've always sort of, until recently, let's say, when I'm trying to implement Eddie's game, I would typically do a 2-on-1 grip or a double wrist control grip, and not necessarily worry about my opponent's posture. But after watching a lot of his videos, he uses this right hand here a lot of times to break the opponent's posture and get him into a position where he can off base his opponent just in a little bit more effective way. So let me go ahead and continue here. again, we're not really worrying about the finish. We're just noting that he's using this very aggressive technique here. All right, let me just back up here. Look how he's got in this position here a 2-on-1 wrist grip here. This is something that's relatively new here that I haven't been using, and this is in a guard that I like to play a lot, which is a what I call a half butterfly guard, where he's got the bottom leg here and sort of a half guard, and the top hook is hidden. I've actually heard from someone who's pretty close with Eddie that, and I'm also, I think I heard it in an interview as well, most of the people at Eddie's gym don't play a knee shield guard with the foot out over the hip this way, because almost always they're going to get leg locked with a, you know, from the guy on top. So he protects this hook here by keeping it inside. That's something that I do as well. But a lot of times here I have a hard time going for, you can't see it, but my opponent's right leg here. And one of the things that I haven't been considering is just a simple 2-on-1 grip here. Watch how effective he is here, just pulling his opponent on top of him. He doesn't actually get to the leg lock position, but he's able to do that sort of grip. Let me just back up here a second again. This may not be the one I was thinking of, but he's got 2-on-1 here, right? And he's using these grips, very strong grips, to effectively move his opponent on top of him. Again, always hunting for the leg lock position. Back up here, let's take a look at this one here. I've noticed that he's used this grip here a lot as well. This is a pretty standard entry, but Eddie seems to be using this a lot, where he grabs the back of the elbow, both elbows with both hands, and basically does a double under grip from there into butterfly position. Standard 2-on-1 grip. This is popular for Marcelo here. We got the left hand behind the elbow here, and the right hand here. Okay, let me just back up here. Watch how he uses the right hand here, because this is what happens to me a lot when I'm in a match with a strong opponent that especially doesn't want to come on top. Instead of just yanking on this arm here with a 2-on-1 grip, Eddie's going to use his right hand here to grab the back of his opponent's neck here and sort of start that lean and get him going with that grip. Okay, notice the transition from head and arm, head and arm. Notice the right hand, switching between grips. Take a look at that one more time. So he wanted his opponent on top of him. He grabbed back behind his shoulders here, and then pulled him up on top of him. And it all started with a head pull with his right hand. Head and arm. Double wrist control. Again, notice the 2-on-1 grip. This is made popular by Marcelo Garcia. Left hand here grabbing the back of the elbow, right hand here over the top of the wrist, pulling his arm across his midline to increase the additional pressure or friction across his belly. Again, the relentless pressure of Eddie constantly on the attack, making his opponent retreat, going for many different ways to enter into the leg lock position. Constantly applying that pressure. So one thing too I want to point out, especially as it relates to my game, again, I mentioned this earlier, I had a very defensive guard when prior to working on Eddie's game, and most of my hand fighting was all about keeping a bubble around me, making sure that my opponent couldn't attack through my bubble. All right, I would constantly, as you can see here, what he's doing here is keeping his opponent's hands away from him. But what he does here is he then switches from a defensive mode automatically into an attack mode here. Right. This is the difference between my game and his game, is that he's constantly looking for openings, as I was looking for my opponent to make a mistake during the pass. Maintaining the control of the arm. 2-on-1 grip, very popular with him. Pulling the head down, constantly grabbing on the arms. Very good with his hooks, keeping his opponent away. Again, bringing his opponent's posture down first, then going for the 2-on-1. Just back this up here. This was a nice little entry here. So if you watch this match a lot, you'll notice that I believe this match is with Denny Propinos, or I'm not sure how to pronounce his name, but at any rate, he did a lot of 2-on-1 grip like he has here. But when he pulled himself, when he pulls him on top of Eddie, a lot of times he's able to, his opponent is able to post on top of his chest with his arm here. And what he does here, he uses that overhook with his left hand here to sort of block that post and keeping that attachment between Eddie and Denny here. And then he uses that underhook on the other side. And with that grip, he doesn't have the ability to post as he did before. Constantly looking for the leg lock entry here. Here, a 2-on-1 wrist grip here, maintaining that control. Watch how he stretches his arm out, pulls him on top, never giving up. Same thing here, 2-on-1 wrist grip, pulling him on top. Double elbow grip there, double wrist grip there. Two on one again, wrist. Making his opponent fearful, not allowing him to attack or pass the guard here. Breaking the posture with the head and arm. If one doesn't work, he transitions to the other nice and smooth. Again, 2-on-1 here from the butterfly. Hunting inside, gets a double underhooks here. Pulls him on top. Alright guys, I just wanted to show you how aggressive Eddie is in his matches and keeping his opponents on the retreat. And since I've been doing this with my training partners, I really have noticed a big difference in their passing ability. I will admit this, I have been getting my guard pass more often now because I'm not quite as good at the guard defense with attacking for leg locks. But you can see here that Eddie is really making his opponents worried, not only about the leg lock, but also breaking the posture. He's famous for going on top as well, and bringing the opponent's head down to jump and doing a head and arm from top. So hope you guys like this video. Thanks a lot.